Welcome to Ian McLean Above and Beyond. I crashed my FPV drone. Why? Stick around. I'll show you the reason. So the first footage I wanted to show you was what a normal takeoff should look like. This is captured by my Insta360 on top of my pickup truck. My observer is out in the front of the truck, and I move the drone off to the side and then start getting ready to put the goggles on. At this point, this is what a normal flight, but I'm using the motion controller as opposed to just the remote controller. And the motion controller is sort of like a joystick. You just tilt it to one side and the drone turns, tilt it to the other side and it rolls out of the turn. The next perspective I wanted to show you was a recovery from the drone's perspective. Again, the observer's in front of the truck so you won't see her, but this is a normal recovery back to the bed of the pickup truck, and it's quite easy to do with the motion controller as long as the wind isn't too high. I typically bring the drone in just to the side of the truck and then move the drone over the truck and then land the drone on the truck. This is a view from the Insta360 of a recovery and what a normal recovery should look like. You can kind of see the joystick in my hand of the motion controller and the drone just arriving at the pickup truck. Again, off to the side at first and then just over the bed of the pickup truck, which makes a good landing zone as long as it's not too windy. If it's too windy, I'll put a landing mat down and land on the landing mat. That's what a normal recovery should look like. So now to the eventful flight, the fateful flight. I decided one day that I would take the drone out with my observer and we would try full manual flight. So I'm using the remote controller as opposed to the motion controller. I fire up the drone, and again, today's perspective is all from the drone. Initially, I have the controls in normal mode, and so the drone flies like any other DJI drone. It's very easy to control in normal mode. And although I'm not using the motion controller, flight is fairly straightforward. It flies just like any other normal DJI drone, like a Mini or an Air 3S, both of which I own. So you can see I'm fairly cautious. I always move out to the side and then away from the takeoff zone. I know there are windmills in the area. I know what the height of the windmills are, and I have my return to home height set above the top of the windmill blades, even though it's above 300 feet, just to avoid obstacles for the return to home if there's an emergency. I know I've got an emergency pause button. I know where it is on the controller. But when you have the goggles on, you have to do it by feel. And that is part of the problem that I ran into once the drone started going a bit out of control. It's at this point I climb to give myself some margin for error, because I want to make sure that I've got some altitude just in case things don't go as they planned. As I planned, I should say. And you can see just relatively straightforward over the middle of a bean field where nobody can get hurt. You can tell now that I believe this is where I switch to full manual as the flight becomes erratic, to say the least. I'm having trouble controlling the flight, and the banks aren't commanded the way I want them to, the turns aren't commanded the way I want them to, and I'm having a heck of a time just keeping the drone under control. At this point, I start searching for the pause button with my left finger, but I can't find it. And I haven't got time to remove the goggles to have a look and see. And unfortunately, because I'm far enough away from the truck, the observer loses visual on the drone as well, and slam. Welcome to the bean field. Right in the middle of a bunch of beans. I didn't see where the drone crashed. My observer didn't see where the drone crashed because he just lost sight just before the drone crashed. And so all we knew, long story endless, Basically, we didn't know where the drone was. I finally used the last position of the drone from the DJI Fly app to find the drone. It walked me using a basic GPS straight to the drone, and I was able to recover the drone. It had one missing propeller and one bent propeller. And from that, I basically replaced those, cleaned the beans off of it, and managed to fly it the next morning. What were my lessons learned in this? Basically, the biggest lesson learned was I'm not ready for manual flight of an FPV drone at this point. I need more practice on the simulator, and I need more practice before I decide that I'm going to try it again. So that was how I crashed my FPV drone. Oh, by the way, I bought a replacement because I thought I'd lost it, and then I managed to find it, so now I've got two FPV drones. The DJI FPV drones, they're very fast, so if you're operating this kind of drone, make sure you're cautious and know what you're doing before you switch into manual mode. That's it for this time on Ian McLean Above and Beyond. Join in next time when we'll have more stories of aviation and drone flying. Thanks for watching.